and it was a beaver, and I was like, I don't want to be a beaver. This is weird.
I got to come up with a good nickname for you based on that. I'm going to think of
Call me Beaver. Well, welcome to another episode of Living Life in Tune. I'm your host, Adam Lee, and I'm here today with Connell Cuffie.
Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, it's awesome. So cool to have a guest. You're my first guest on the podcast.
Oh, I'll take that.
So, hey, this is Living Life in Tune, and we talk about things I think every week that we need to keep in tune in our lives. Personal growth, leadership, manhood, I believe how we treat people, where we're headed, all those things. We have to keep things in tune in our life. So today we are going to talk about personal growth and keeping that in tune. I've invited Connell on today to talk about personal growth because he is somebody who I believe takes it seriously.
I do take it very seriously.
Yes. Connell and I met about 3 or 4 years ago at a Connect group at my house.
Yeah. Well, I got to say this. You and your wife, Emily, were amazing hosts, and we knew from the time we walked in that we were going to grow as friends because you guys did a great job of just keeping everything. Yeah, you did.
Ditto. I could say the same thing. And one of the first things that you said in our Connect group, and I knew, I was like, I would like this guy, because you said that your love language was leadership. And I was like, who says that? And we're going to talk about love languages a little bit today, but I'd never heard anybody say that before. And I'm thinking, okay, here's a guy who's probably growing personally and prioritizes personal growth in his life. So I've always appreciated that about you, and it inspires me to grow and to keep growing. So thank you for that. Connell has helped me at the church that we work at. We're co-workers, and we work at Hope Community Church here in Hedgesville, West Virginia. And Connell has actually helped me develop systems for leadership and training and all kinds of stuff around the church that I am very proud of. And so thankful for that. Connell owns his own company called Proceed to Lead.
That's right.
And he consults leaders and people in the business community and broad, talking about, work and growth and leadership and how to scale and stuff like that. Connell also has his own podcast, which he is going to be launching very soon. He's got a YouTube channel already.
I do have a YouTube channel.
But this podcast is now kicking off, and that'll happen soon.
That's right.
And it's called Uncuffed, right?
Uncuffed.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a podcast for dreamers and leaders. Such as myself. So you'll find out more about it later on, but yeah, I'm super excited about it. The first one drops on the 24th of January.
Oh yeah, before the end of the month.
That's right.
If you're listening to it now. So thanks for coming on, man. It's great having you on.
Thank you again.
Yeah, great having you on. We are going to have a conversation about personal growth. Something that I believe, I've been saying it, if you don't use it, you lose it. And personal growth is one of those areas in our life that if we don't keep it in tune, it just doesn't happen. We don't get any better. Here's what I know about life now, being 30 years old. We're both in our 30s.
Oh my gosh, can you believe it?
And here's what I'm learning about my 30s. The strategies and plays. We're sports guys. We know what it's like. NFL plays, sports plays. The plays and strategies that I've used to get me to where I am will not get me to where I want to go.
Not at all.
The things that I did in my 20s and my teenage years that I leaned on for survival, like I met my wife based off these plays and strategies. I got my career going with these plays and strategies. I got the love and approval of my parents and those around me using these strategies. And what I'm learning in my 30s now is these strategies will kill you if you keep them going. and
or your wife will kill you.
One of the two. Right. So call it the humor of God, but He's designed it that what got us here won't get us there. And I'm learning now in my life that if I don't make a commitment to personal growth, it's not going to be good. And call it the humor of God, right?
Yeah. I agree.
So I know if you're listening to this and you're in your 20s, you're probably rolling your eyes at me and thinking, yeah, right. I remember thinking that in my 20s. I didn't have any growing to do. I knew it all. And if you're in your 20s, you're thinking, yeah, right. I already got these things will get me into my future faster than anything. And I know you're thinking that. And if you're in your 40s or 50s and you're past your 30s, you're thinking, just wait, buddy. You're thinking, just wait. You think your 30s are hard. Wait till your 40s. Wait till your 50s. And so here's what I know. Personal growth has to be one of those things that we keep in tune to take our life and our leadership and the love that we carry into this world to take it to the next level and to keep growing into the future. So we have to be committed to doing some work, right?
Oh, yeah.
Personal growth is work. And here's what I want to say, Connell, you could chime in at any time. There is an upgrade available for you.
Yes, there is.
Man, if you're listening right now, there's an upgrade available for you. There is a version 2.0 of Adam Lee that everybody is waiting on.
Yes, but here's the thing, right? You have to understand why you're growing, I think, to begin with before you start growing. And a lot of people, so for example, I love the idea of personal growth and I'm all about personal growth. But what direction am I growing in? Just like plants grow towards the sun, are you growing towards a source that matters?
Yeah.
Or are you growing the opposite direction? So figure out why you want to grow in the first place, why you want to be the better version of yourself, the 2.0, the 3.0. Our wives probably want 5.0 at this point, but the idea is like have a direction that you're going in. And understand that the path along that way is not going to look like what you think it's going to look like at all. And it's going to be challenging. You're going to be stretched so thin that you're going to think, what in the world am I doing? And here's the craziest part. The people that you thought were your friends, the people that are your family, they may not appreciate that version of you in the in-between. Ooh. So
good point.
But if you have the direction and you're willing to put in the time and the effort, the you on the other side of that is going to be so much better than what you can imagine. Yeah,
that's a good word. I was making the point though that if people tell you that they love you the way you are, they are lying to your face.
Yes, they
are. If your wife is saying, "Oh, honey, I love you the way you are," she's lying.
Yeah.
If your kids are saying, "Oh, just the way you are, daddy or mommy," to think that people around us don't want the upgraded version of us is absolutely crazy.
Yes, it is.
And so, hey, there's an upgrade available for you, and everybody is waiting on it. Everybody around you is waiting on it. So here's the problem with life. That one of the problems is that most formal education stops right around the time in life where we need education the most. And
powerful, man.
If you think about it, you're going through your high school years and your college years and you're learning and you're growing and you're stretching and right around the age of 23, 25, late 20s, all formal education stops. So we run the risk of all learning coming to a screeching halt in our life around the time where we are now, where we need it the most. And here's what I know. If you're not intentional, you do run the risk of not growing. And it's one of those things that when we need it the most, it seems to taper off. So we got to keep it in tune. We got to be intentional around it. Here's what I know. Difficulty is coming. And marriage isn't easy. Raising kids isn't easy. Thriving in a lifelong career is not easy. Having success and leading people is not easy. Even just daily, everyday life is not easy. So we have to be committed to personal growth. So Here's two things that I believe are absolutely essential for personal growth. And the first one is awareness, and the second one is practice.
Mm-hmm.
So if we are going to grow, I'm talking to somebody right now who wants to take personal growth seriously, who's saying, okay, I realize the strategies that got me here won't get me there, and I need to focus on growth. I think that's the position that we're taking, and that's who I'm talking to today. So listen, this is a two-step process, and the first one is awareness. You have to know yourself to grow yourself, right?
Yep.
You have to know yourself to grow yourself. There are all kinds of tools and resources and books available that will cause you to become more aware of who you are. And
we've taken a lot of them.
Yeah, we have, haven't we?
We have.
Yeah, where we work with our church staff, we've taken several personality assessments and working assessments to help us get a perspective on ourselves.
Yeah.
Like who we are, what we bring to the table each and every day.
Yeah, and they're really good snapshots, and I'm all for them, honestly. Yeah. I think personality tests, like you said, are a great way to bring awareness to who you look like, well, how you perceive yourself, one, and how you believe other people perceive you.
Yeah.
But that's not where it ends, but they still have their purpose.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been, and I don't know how you, like those people listening, how your perspective or opinion is on personality assessments. You know, some people can tend to write them off like those are no good. I'll never learn anything about that. But I do believe they serve their place. I do believe that they are a resource to help us gain a perspective, although it might be a low resolution perspective and it might just be a starting place. But here's the thing. We have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
We have to start somewhere. And so I'm going to go down through this, the awareness part of things. I'm going to run down through everything that I have taken personally as far as personality assessments, because they have revealed things to me that I am not good at. So if you're in a stage of life where you're, like I said, it's probably happening if you're in your late 20s, early 30s. It can happen before that and after that. But if you're running into it where you're just not like, man, I don't know what to do, or I'm not good at these things, this is where awareness comes into play. So here's a couple things that have been so good for me. The Strengths Finders test.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That is a good one.
Strengths Finders test show you where you show up, what your strengths are in life, mainly probably work and personal as well.
Yeah, I think the Strengths Finders is more like the way your brain processes or contextualizes information around it. What I've seen is that I can't really use the Strengths Finders that much with work. Just based on some of the things, but it's definitely more of the way that my brain naturally takes in stimuli and tries to process it more than anything else.
You've done the Strength Finders?
I have.
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah, we did that a couple years ago when I first started in youth ministry, working at the church. I remember doing it with all of the youth leaders that were on my team, and it was just eye-opening, the things that I was good at and the things that everybody on the team was good at. It is an awareness of not only your strengths, but the people that you work with as well. So there's a Strength Finder. There's something called the DISC test that I've taken.
Yes, that's a very popular one in the corporate world.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you remember what you are?
I do not remember the results.
Oh, man. Mine said that I was a high D, high dominance, and that just means that I don't like to listen. Which gets me in trouble a lot, apparently. But
Connell doesn't like to listen.
No, I don't like being told what to do. I like to be given a general idea of what needs to be accomplished, and then let me go to town.
Give you the freedom to just take it.
Yeah, if someone micromanages me, they lose me.
So that's a high
quickly.
D.
That's
okay.
That's right.
I told you this the other day. We were laughing about it. Some personality assessments I took, and you have these idealized, glamorized positions of leadership where it's like lion and bear. And I scored beaver. I was strategic, and I was able to be thoughtful and strategic, and it was a beaver, and I was like, I don't want to be a beaver. This is weird.
I got to come up with a good nickname for you based on that. I'm gonna think of
Call me Beaver. No. So another thing we've done with our church staff, and I'm actually more and more fascinated with as I continue learning about it, is the Enneagram.
Yes.
Yeah, so maybe you're familiar with the Enneagram, and it kind of summarizes all of humanity in 9 different numbers.
It does.
It tries to.
It's actually to me one of the more accurate ones, especially the more we have conversations about it.
Yeah, here's what the Enneagram did. Every personality test that I took before the Enneagram was revealing my strengths and where I was strong. The Enneagram was the first thing I took and was like, here's where you're weak. Here's where you need help. Here's where you frustrate yourself.
And other people.
And I remember thinking for the first time, I'm not perfect. Well, that's not fun. I thought I was perfect.
Wait, weren't you already married? You should have known.
So the Enneagram, yeah. My wife could tell you I'm not perfect. So the Enneagram was the first thing to come along and go, hey, right here's where you're weak. And right here's where you're sinful. Ooh, man. And here's how sin affects your life. And that was the first time I would ever really had my eyes open to my weaknesses. And so the Enneagram is really good for that.
Yes. Yeah.
Go ahead.
You're a 2, right?
I'm an Enneagram 2, which just means I am an overactive helper. Enneagram 2 is a helper, and I find myself helping.
You do a good job of that, though.
Aimlessly. Yeah.
And but we talked about this, right? It's almost like this weird thing where your strengths almost become the weakness, right? You're so good at helping people that you almost get lost in it. And as you said before, your identity is then wrapped up in your ability to do that. What did you say yesterday? Who you are is wrapped up in what you do, or something to that effect?
Yeah. So part of my awareness of my own self is that I tie what I do to who I am really tightly. It is merged. It is connected. It is very hard for me to separate who I am and what I do. But that's what this podcast is about.
Yeah.
About learning things about ourselves and then be presented with the opportunity to grow, get better or not. So a couple good books about the Enneagram that I've come across is an author by the name of Ian Cron.
Love him.
And we will link to all of this stuff in the show notes, all these resources and tests that you can take and read. The Road Back to You by Ian Cron. And then he just released a brand new one, The Story of You.
Really?
Yeah, and that one was just as insightful. And I remember reading it and going, oh, man, I got some growing to do. Yep, I got some growing to do. So I want to recommend those books. Another thing that we've taken recently is called The Working Genius.
This is my favorite one by far.
Yeah, Connell is into this one.
I am so into The Working Genius. You have no idea. It's as far as work getting done, which is, again, what my company is all about.
Yeah.
It is just perfect for it. It really teaches you how your team sees work and approaches work, and it's split up into 3 different categories, which are ideation, activation, and implementation. And within those, you have 2 subsets that everyone has a genius in, where, you really learn, okay, I may not be a finisher, right? But I'm really good at starting a project.
Yeah.
I may not be great at coming up with ideas, but I'm really good at pushing people and communicating those ideas.
Yeah.
So not feeling like you are less than because you don't have the gifts that other people have, but understanding like, this is what I bring to the table. And the cool thing for a business owner now is when they go to hire someone, they can look at it and say, okay, I may need X, Y, and Z position, but I'm looking for this kind of person. You're an executive pastor and a youth pastor, right?
Yep.
Are they, for example, Are you looking for a youth pastor that is an idea generator? Or are you looking for a youth pastor that's an implementer?
Yeah.
That's somebody just like, I'm just going to get things done. You have to know who you're hiring.
What skill set is needed for this role?
Yeah. And how long do you want that role to be there? So the Working Geniuses, I recommend that to anyone that is either part of a team, leading a team, or wants to. That's a good starting point for you to.
Doesn't it separate it into geniuses?
It does.
That's what I like about that.
It does.
Is it says here's where you're a genius.
Yes.
And my personality, I like being called a genius.
Yes.
And what were you a genius on?
I am wonder and discernment. So I'm really good at asking questions to say, why are we doing it this way?
Yeah.
Which it gets me in trouble a lot, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm never satisfied with how things are or the status quo.
Yep.
And then discernment is the ability to see an idea or hear an idea and poke holes in it and to say, okay, this is worth launching. This is worth running with. So those are things that I'm just naturally good at doing. What are yours?
So we have in common the wonder genius, and I think that's why we get along so well, is because we're able to sit and wonder and almost forever. Yeah, we could just wonder about, man, if this and if that and that's what right. if and man if and we get to just have that in common. And then my other genius was enablement. And that's where you just come alongside of people and help them get the job done.
That's right.
It's more on the implementation end of work. And so what I love about all of this is these are things that we discovered about ourselves and our working selves that we didn't know before. Mm-hmm. And that's what awareness does. That's what these tests reveal. So the worst representation of yourself is you walking around unaware of what you bring to the table every day and how you show up for life. Walking around totally unaware is going to hurt you and hurt others.
Yes, absolutely.
And so what these assessments do is they bring awareness to our lives. This is where I'm a genius. This is where I'm frustrated. This is where my sin gets in the way. This is where I have to grow. And all of a sudden we have all this awareness about who we are, where we are. And that's so important for growth. So important for growth. The last one I wanted to talk about before we move on to the other part is the love languages.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
yes.
This one was a little bit different in the sense that this is how we show up in our relationships, our love languages. And some of you listening know what that is just by hearing it, because it's been around for a while. It's popular, and some of you might not know. The love languages reveals to us how we give and receive love.
Yep. And they can be different, actually. I found that out recently. The way you receive love isn't always the way you give love.
Oh, man.
So that makes it a little bit harder. But what are you?
So we just had a marriage retreat this year, and we took them, and mine changed.
Really?
From what I remember. Yeah. 10 years into my marriage. Sorry, Emily, if you're listening, I apologize. 12 years
I was like, wait a minute.
into my marriage. 12 years into my marriage, I score high on acts of service. And I've just learned about myself. This year I learned this, that I receive love and give love through acts of service. And
I can see that.
And I need acts of service. And when I'm showing up the most in my marriage for my wife, I'm doing acts of service. The problem with this is... is that I could be showing up the way I naturally show up, and it's not the way she needs me to show up.
And that's
the
very common.
Thing
yeah,
about
that's
this,
right.
Where it's like you could be showing up speaking Spanish to a Chinese person and not be getting the love across. You could be loving with all your heart and not coming across as loving. And that is where personal growth and stuff is essential. Trust me when I tell you this, if you want to be married for a long time, you cannot put personal growth down.
Yes.
You have to be able to grow personally. And the people that have been married the longest are the people that have been able to grow personally.
That's right.
So those are the assessments we've taken that have given us awareness to who we are, how we show up. The second part of personal growth is actually doing what we learn about ourselves, actually executing and changing the things about us that don't help anymore.
Yeah.
So it all comes to practice. The first part was awareness. The second part is practice. And we can't stop with learning. The Bible says faith without works is dead. And I think that's a whole nother podcast, actually.
That is a whole nother
That's a whole nother podcast. But we can't stop at learning. Awareness and discovery is not the end game. It's the means to the end. So what is revealed in self-awareness becomes the starting point for all personal growth. So the work that we put into learning ourselves is just the beginning. Just the beginning. What comes next is what matters. And that's your ability to change and to implement what you discovered and to practice those things that you don't like about yourself.
That's right.
Getting better at those things you don't like about yourself. So I wanted to give you just a little bit of a window into me for a second. Here's what I've learned about myself in the past maybe 5 years or so, a lot even in the past 2 years. And this is for me, I'm becoming aware of these things. Number one, I suck at conflict. It has been revealed to me, and maybe it was that Enneagram 2 that just likes to help and likes to show up and likes to be liked. And I am not very good at dealing and managing with the conflicts in my life. Well, guess what, Connell? You say it. Yeah.
Conflict is going to happen.
Yeah.
You can't avoid it. You can't.
The strategies that got us through our 20s will not get us through our 30s. Conflict is a part of life, love, leadership, and everything we do.
Nothing grows without a little bit of pain and friction. So conflict is a necessary part of growing and leadership. You know, we can't say we're leaders if we avoid walking through the muck with people.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I'm glad you learned that. That's a very difficult thing to try to learn.
Yeah. So here's why I'm bad at conflict. And I've only been taught this because I care about growing and these have become aware to me through tests I've taken and books I've read. But I'm bad at conflict because I don't speak my mind. Come on. Is there anybody else who doesn't speak their mind? Who it's important to you, but you keep your mouth shut, or something's bugging you and you just choose silence? Yeah, that is not good for conflict.
Yeah, I don't know what that's like.
No, Connell's like, trust me, that ain't my issue. But for me, I have trouble speaking my mind. So, and another thing that makes conflict difficult is I don't have the tools and I don't know how to assert myself. So even if I want to speak my mind, I don't even know where to start. So I'm bad at managing conflicts. Something I've learned about myself is I'm not so great at planning for the future. And we were talking about this yesterday before the show. I'm hyper oriented to the present. And something that's been revealed to me is, hey, people won't follow a leader who doesn't know where they're going.
Yeah.
Your family won't follow someone who doesn't have a direction to take them in. Your kids won't follow someone who's always oriented to the present. So see what this is revealing to me and to us is that we get to discover where we lack and how we need to improve, and it acts as a starting point to put some serious change in action. So another thing I'm not too terribly great at is follow through. And
that's hard for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It really is.
Dude, I'm great at starting things, not so hot at finishing things. So that's an area where I know I got to grow. I know I got to put in the work. So here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I know. That we need to make personal growth a commitment, first and foremost. Mm-hmm. The way to do that is to say, okay, everything that got me here won't take me to where I want to go. Just acknowledge it, just accept it, just humble yourself and take responsibility. And then we have to make ourselves aware of things by learning. And then we have to be committed to changing things as we become aware. And now that I know all these things about myself, I have a legitimate starting place. And we were talking before the show. Now I have categories: conflict, planning for the future, follow through. Now I have categories that I can do deep dives and grow. personally, because guess what I know? There's a million books on conflict management.
Yes, there are.
There's resources available on how to follow through. Four disciplines of execution, and how to line things up, set goals, and get things done. What I'm saying is at this point forward for my life, I have no excuse.
None. And there are people in your life too that can help you through that, right?
Oh, that's a good point.
We both have our mentors, and we both have people in our lives that are good at the things that we are not.
Yep.
And
that's a great point.
They are definitely willing to tell us where we're not.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, like I can say for me, I've really struggled with the same thing, kind of follow through, but I've really struggled with identity in the sense that I always believed that I'd be further ahead today than I am now. And the crazy thing is I am so much further ahead than where I really should be.
Right.
Based on a lot of factors, and it's through God's grace, but I am perpetually comparing myself with what my dreams say I should be. And God has really started to work in my heart to say, you know, like, here's the awareness. You are looking at your life from the wrong perspective. I'm not your guiding principle. Now here's what you're gonna do.
Man.
These are the books in the Bible that I want you to read. These are the people that I'm putting in your life to help you through that. This is the discipline that you need to practice and exercise every single day to develop the character that you need, so that when I am ready to take you to that place where I put those dreams, you're there. But please also have the faith to know that I'm going to take you there.
Yeah.
You know, and in the waiting is the perfect opportunity to practice. The waiting is a perfect opportunity to keep disciplining myself.
So
and that's it's a struggle, right? Like I will probably always identify myself with what I perceive as my value to the world, my intelligence, or anything like that. As an Enneagram 5, intelligence to me is top of the list. Information is number one.
Yeah, I could care less about that.
Right? But the thing is, though, where God wants me to be, the people he wants me to serve, my ability to be the smartest person in the room,
that's good,
is the exact opposite of what I need to be successful there.
That's good.
And every day he's putting that stamp on my heart. He's putting that pressure there.
Yep.
And it is a hard lesson, but you know what? I can't say I love personal growth if I myself am not willing to go through that muck and be able to communicate that to people and say, I know where you've been. You know, the 20-year-olds, we have 20-year-olds and young teenagers that follow us around, and we have to be able to tell them, that's important to you now, but guess what? That is not going to be important to you in 10 years. And we have 40 and 50 and 60-year-olds telling us, that's important to you now, but that's not going to be important to you in 20 years.
I like that a lot.
Right? So,
man, what I heard you say two things that were absolutely amazing. Number one, don't do personal growth alone. We all have people older than us who are pouring into us, like you said. And then I heard you say that actually personal growth, learning things about ourselves, putting them into practice, actually reveals God's will for our life and where he's taking us and the impact he's causing us to have. And that is so awesome, man. Thank you for saying that.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So here's a little bit of a recap. There is an upgrade available for you, and everybody's waiting for it. You've got to know yourself to grow yourself, and let what you learn about yourself set the course for change in your life. So that's kind of like where we're at, man. And we are committed to personal growth, and we're seeing it rock our world. We're seeing it change our life. And we believe this. It's going to impact the people under us, above us, all around us.
Yes.
And for those of whom make this a practice, it's really going to set you on course for God's calling and purpose in your life. So Connell, I want to ask you this. Where can people find you?
So you can go to my website, which is proceedtolead.com. That's proceed, the number 2, the word lead.com. You can find me on YouTube at Uncuffed, UNCUFFED. I also have my Instagram, which is Proceed to Lead. And then soon you'll be able to find me on Spotify and Apple.
Love it.
And all those other podcasting networks with Uncuffed with Connell Cuffie, where again, I talk about dreamers and leaders. As a dreamer myself, I struggle with staying motivated sometimes whenever my dreams aren't coming to fruition. And my love of leadership kind of ties into that, right?
Yeah.
Like I want to see the best in people and I want to see the best in myself, but sometimes it's not happening in the timing that I see. So it's just a discussion about the struggles of being a dreamer, the struggles of leading organizations or teams, or even leading in your household. What does that look like? But for dreamers especially, it can weigh on us, and it can create a lot of anxiety and a lot of pressure that isn't actually there. So we're going to explore that a little bit in Uncuffed.
Heck yeah, we'll go get it, man.
Thank
I'm
you.
looking forward to watching that podcast and listening to your stuff and learning and growing from it. So I appreciate you for being here today. And like I said, all the links will be in the show notes for these resources, personality test, books we mentioned. You'll find that if you're listening and be able to click for those. And that's it for today's episode of Living Life in Tune. Remember this, your life matters, so keep it in tune.